Hello guys, today I'm going to show you how to deploy your machine learning model, a end-to-end machine learning model on AWS Lambda, which is like for the serverless computing. And I have personally seen a lot of videos on YouTube who show how to do that, but unfortunately all of these videos have don't have like hundreds of pip installs and hundreds of pip modules, and they just show a very lightweight file which you can just directly upload and run it in AWS Lambda. However, if you have like lots of in a real project, you will have lots of pip installs and imports, and you need to run that file in AWS Lambda. So in order to do that, there are essentially two ways. One is you either create a Docker image which you send it to ECR or this elastic container registry, and then use that Docker image and run that Docker image inside the Lambda, right? And the second way is either to have all your files uploaded to EC2 instance, and then you can take it and solve this and deploy your model into production. However, in this particular video I'm going to show you the Docker way and how to do it. So let's do that. Thanks. So the first thing that you do is actually you just create your own Jupyter notebook like this one, and then you run through all of these steps like understanding the features, blah blah blah, feature exploration, training and testing and everything. And once you do all of these, at the end make sure that you combine all of these into a single function. In my case, I have named that function as testing. So this function will take your input file and it will take your model path, the model that you've already trained, and then it is gonna do all these, fill the null values or whatever whatever operations you want to do. And finally this function is going to create this results data frame which you're gonna later just return, right? And so it will look something like this, right? Now we are going to take this function out, and then we are going to create an app module, and then I'm going to run, and then we do the next steps. Created an IAM role called AWS deployer, and I just gave it these three accesses: administrator access, Amazon EC2 container registry full access, AWS Lambda full access. Technically, I'm not really sure if you need the administrator access, but then for this tutorial, I'm just gonna make it easier, right? So this is an AWS deployer role, and I also logged in through the AWS deployer IAM role, right? We will now in the next step, we'll go to Elastic Container Registry, and here we are gonna create a new repository just for the sake of the tutorial. So I'm gonna type tutorial repo. Okay, this sounds good, and it's going to be private. Nothing will change here. You create this repository, successfully created repository. Very good. Then we just go here and we do view push commands. Now in this case, you need to make sure that you have the AWS client installed, and it has to be the latest version. So you just maybe like just Google AWS client latest version install, and you will find the link, and I think you can do it yourself. And then also make sure that you have Docker desktop downloaded, and then you just copy this command, and just let me just clear this out. Okay, and then you just paste this command, and you make sure that you are in the directory where the app is stored. So what is this directory? This is nothing but the fast API directory where you have the app.py file and the docker file and the requirements.txt file and the this is the training saved training model, right? So after you're done, okay, so when it comes login succeeded, that means you're done, right? And you are now connected to the Docker. So just before creating the Docker, just make sure that you have everything, right? So this is created using Python 3.10. Then make sure that requirements.txt file is copied inside the Docker container. Then you have to run all the requirements. in the target. Then you have app.py file which has to be copied. This essentially is a command which copies everything inside this folder, but I have not had a good experience using this because when I try to debug further, I found that this command is has left out some files, but then even then I'm just putting it anyways, right? And also copy this file. So I have written individual commands like copy this file and copy requirements.txt. You can instead use this one, but I've not had all the files in the Docker container due to this command, right? This is ready. And how does your app.py look like? So your fast API app looks like everything just as expected, normal. Then what you need to do is you need to import a mangum and you need to create a handler for your app. So app is like fast API app, and then a handler for your app called mangum. And then app.post, here you will, have the predict. This is the function that we are very interested in, predict, right? So it will take as JSON as a request, and then it will do all this adding null values and everything and all the operations, and finally it will give a data frame which I'll convert into dictionary, right? So yes, so let's move ahead then, and we just go to the elastic container, we copy this command. Okay, this was done. Then we copy this command, and now we paste this command, right? So it's gonna take some time to build the Docker container. It's perfect. So the Docker container is built. It's perfect. Then we just take this repo and we connect it. That's done. And we just push this Docker container now to our repo. So this is gonna take some time. Okay, now we are gonna go to AWS Lambda, right? So we just go to Lambda and we'll create a new function just to show you guys. And this function we are gonna create using a container image, right? Which we built. And let's name this function as tutorial function. Okay, and the container image will come from here, right? So tutorial repo and the latest. It's perfect. And is there anything else? Everything seems good. Just keep all the other details as for default and create this function. It takes a while. Perfect. Now it's still creating. Perfect. So the function is created. We need to do one change here because there is no way for the test code that we wrote, right? So this is the test code that we wrote, and this is written in like fast API, and we are exposing it as like predict. And there's one thing, handler is something that is the function which evokes when you use AWS Lambda, and for that handler we are using mangum app, right? So here the function which we want to evoke this app, we are going to use app.handler, right? So that should be our CMD override. So let's go here, let's type app.handler. That's it. Save this. Okay, let it just update, take some while. Perfect, now it looks updated. Then we are gonna, let's say, just test. So let's create a test. Let's call it T1, and we are going to use API gateway AWS proxy. So what is the path? path is nothing but here you see, if we want to test predict, then we are going to use this. Otherwise we can use slash get information or whatever. So in this case we are going to use predict and see if things are working as expected. Predict post, and then we are going to change the path everywhere to predict. And so there are like two places and three places where we need to change. Okay, so predict. Perfect. And after this is done, then we just test it and see if things work as expected. Perfect. Execution complete. So that means the function is getting executed. Now we can go ahead and create the URL, right? So we just go to, where is the URL? We just go to this function, we go to tutorial function and configurations. Okay, it's perfect. Here we have a function URL. Create the function URL. Authentication type we want none for now, and let's just save it. Okay, so we have a function URL. Perfect. Now we just go on our Postman, right? And we, let's say, we put our function URL and we write predict. Then we just gonna take like an input from here. Let's take this as an input, whatever format input that you have, right? Go on body, take raw, put this input here, and let's see, method not allowed. Oh, that's strange. Why is it coming method not allowed? 405 error. Okay, sometimes it takes a while, to have everything perfect. Anyways, public, anyone can access your URL. Okay, let me just check now. Okay, so it's like a post request, sorry. Right, I think this should work. It's perfect. It works. It gives us the probability of default, the one which we have coded. And yes, you have this URL, and we have successfully deployed our end-to-end machine learning project on AWS Lambda. So the thing about this URL is you can actually monitor it, how many hits have it has been, and and how many, a lots of things are there. You can check it out. And yeah, and you can connect this URL to your website or whatever, right? So thank you.